Peace and good morning to you. Today is Thursday, the 24th, unless you're somewhere overseas and you have already been in Thursday. But for all my people that's over here on this side of the earth and on this side of the dirt, man, always start in gratitude. So if I am, what's the word? If I am thankful for you and I can show you gratitude, and I can greet you by saying good morning, you can do the same thing in return. Because there is somebody right now who is waking up and no one will say anything to them for the rest of the day. But I am saying it to you first. And it only makes sense for you to say it back. I'm just saying. All right. So everybody in the Facebook space, I thank you and I appreciate you for being here all the time. There will not be one day where I will not tell you that I am thankful for you. So if you go throughout your entire day without anyone telling you or appreciating you, just know that you're going to get it here. Just know that in the morning, you're going to receive some sort of thanks and you're going to receive some sort of appreciation. So you know where to come back to. If you don't get it out throughout the day, say, I know I can get some appreciation. I'm going to Consistency is Currency podcast, or I'm going to listen to it I'm going to watch it on Facebook, or I'm going to watch it on YouTube. I know where I can get it. I'm going to go get it from there. So I'm going to give you that appreciation right now. I'm going to give you that thanks right now. And for everybody that's in the podcast world, we got some new countries. So I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say thank you. Of course, I appreciate everybody in the United States. I mean, they're holding down 84%, but thank you from everybody here in the U.S. Italy been holding on strong. Italy, we appreciate you. India, we appreciate you. Nigeria, thank you for listening. Canada, Germany, Singapore, we got some new countries listening. Singapore, South Africa, Russia. Hey, I didn't do it, but I appreciate you for listening. Australia, Puerto Rico's been consistent. South Korea is listening now. Morocco, Mexico, New Zealand, Ireland, Turkey, Netherlands, Pakistan is listening now, and Nigeria and Kenya. We definitely appreciate you. And one thing that I'm proud of, that I love, when I'm looking at the age demographics that is listening, 42% of the audience that's listening on and in the podcast space, 42% is 18 to 22. And I love that, because that's letting me know that young people is reaching out. Young people is wanting to hear something different, and they're actively engaged. Then the 23 to 27 is 10%. The 28 to 34 is 28%. Then 35 to 44, 45 to 59. We even got some 60 plus that's listening. So for my young people out there that's listening to the podcast, keep listening, because I'm going to keep giving it to you. I'm going to keep providing you with access of thinking from a different perspective. I'm going to keep providing you with consistency to let you know that you're not by yourself. And the demographics, you know, the lady is holding it down, 66%. My men out there listening at 31%. So brothers, let's get it. Let's build. Let's keep connecting. Let's keep grinding. Let's keep growing. Let's keep developing ourselves. Why? Because we owe it to everyone that's coming behind us. Because the more we create and recreate ourselves, we have the ability to assist the next person that is coming up. So let's continue to do that. All right. Again, I always show you gratitude, and I appreciate you 1000%. All right, here we go. Make sure you share this. Go ahead and share it. Put the word done when you finish. Mr. Brian, oh man, you've been consistent right now. Miss Latricia, she's very consistent. Miss Selena, she's consistent. Selena, you're going to get the Watcher of the Year award, as well as Miss Latricia. All right, so let's jump into it. Today is thick. When I say today is thick, man, it is super thick. So if there is something that resonates with you, as you hear the message, go ahead and put it inside of the chat, because the things that resonates with you can and will have the ability to resonate with someone else. And what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna put this link inside the chat for those that listen to it on Anchor. I'm gonna tell you what Anchor does. You're able to leave a message After you finish listening to the podcast, you can leave a message. Then I'm able to add your message to the podcast, and I can add it to the beginning to where people can hear your message. Like, okay, I think and I appreciate you for what war are you fighting, and it helped me do this. Now, don't leave me no long drawn out sermon, because I'm not adding your sermon to the message, but I will add, something nice and short and sweet that you get it, because you're going to be tapping into someone else's consciousness because they're listening to it. So if you want to hear what we're saying here at Consistency is Currency, and you're listening from the Anchor, leave a message and I'll add your message to my podcast. I'll do it every day, but I'm not adding your same message every day. But those who listen, I will add your message to the beginning of the podcast. All right, so let's get into it. What war are you fighting? And we always go with the definition, and then from the definition, we go into the topic of discussion. All right, so what war are you fighting? The definition of fighting, again, we deal in contrast. What does that mean? We read the regular definition, and then in contrast, we give it a new relevant way of seeing it. So this contrast is red over white. So the definition of fighting is the action of fighting violence or conflict, move forward with difficulty, especially by pushing through a crowd or overcoming physical obstacles. Now, in contrast, the action of conflict. Fighting is the action of conflict. You got people that's talking about conflict resolution, but they're not looking at it as, because of there is conflict, there is a fight that is going on between two people. Doesn't necessarily have to mean we're fist fighting, but we are at a war. I don't say war because we're not there yet, but we are at a conflict. So the action of conflict is fighting, or move forward with difficulties, especially by pushing through or overcoming. The action of conflict, moving forward with difficulty, especially by pushing through or overcoming. What are you fighting? What war are you fighting? What actions are you taking? What actions of conflict are you dealing with? Have you and will you develop the ability to move forward with difficulty, especially by pushing through or overcoming? The situations that you find yourself in, the circumstances that you find yourself in, are you ready and are you capable, and do you have the ability to action the conflict? All right. So now we're going through the definition of war. Again, the definition, we're going with the state of completion. The state of competition, conflict, or hostility between different people or groups, a sustained effort to deal with or end a particular unpleasant or undesirable situation or condition. Now, in contrast, is red over white. In contrast is the state of conflict. Remember, if fighting is the action of conflict, then war is the state of conflict, things that you find yourself in or things that you find yourself dealing with. It is a state. That means that is something that you have allowed to continue to go on, something that you have allowed to fester. So now it is in a state of conflict, I'll use particularly on this one, a state of conflict, particularly unpleasant or desirable condition, or undesirable situation or condition. Again, a state of conflict in particularly unpleasant or undesirable situation or condition. That is war. Remember, if fighting is the action of conflict and war is a state of conflict, so how and why are we trying to put these two things together? Because they're not the same. They're not the same. War is something that you allow to fester because you did not, or you have failed to fight. Because remember, when we talked about you have your issues, your situations, and your problems. At the state of an issue, you should have been fighting for what you wanted to. In the state of issue, you had the ability to communicate about what was going on. In the state of issue, because you failed to communicate about it, it has transitioned into a situation. And because you failed to acknowledge it in the state of issue and in the action of situation, it had festered and it has transitioned into a problem. And now we're at a state of conflict because we are at war, because you have denied the conversation in the situation. You have denied yourself the actions during the situation. And because you allow it to fester, now you're at war. Now you're in a state of conflict because you didn't want to go talk about it, because you didn't want to deal with it at the time. You didn't want to fight for it at the time. So now you're in a state of conflict and you're in an unpleasant situation. You're in an unpleasant or an undesirable situation, or you're in an undesirable condition because you have yet to put or to fight for what you wanted to fight for. Now let's talk about, how do you get to the point to where you're fighting yourself out of the war? Or how does a war start? Even when you're looking at it from the physical sense to where we are right now, don't you know a war starts with a declaration? You have to declare war. You don't just end up in a war. You don't just end up with a problem. It comes from an issue that begins to be festered, that you allow it to grow, that you kept talking about it. You didn't shut up. You kept wanting to complain about it. You didn't close your mouth and listen. You wanted to complain. It was okay with you when it was just a situation. And because it grew out of control, now it's a problem. In declaration, the definition is a formal announcement, again, in contrast. This one is red, is white over red. A formal announcement of the beginning of a state or condition. Again, look at what has been constant through all of these. All of these words are different, but yet the commonality of all of these is the word condition. So the formal announcement of a beginning of a state or condition, an affirmation made instead of taking an oath. So now, in contrast, the formal announcement of a state or condition, an affirmation made. And the part that I love is an affirmation made instead of an oath. What does that mean? I'm through talking. I'm through talking. It's about that action, because a oath is just a solemn promise. I am going to make a promise. I'm going to raise my hand and make this promise. But an affirmation made is the actions that we're going to take. So we in that. I gave you the context. I gave you the wording. So now let's have this real conversation. What war are you fighting? And are you even fighting your war? Are you fighting your war, or are you fighting somebody else's war? And how long do you think that person is going to be able to sustain, or how long are you going to be able to sustain continuing fighting somebody else's war? Don't you know you have battles of your own? You can't sustain somebody else's battles because you sometimes don't even know what they're battling inside. Personally, emotionally, spiritually, but you're still battling for them, and you can't battle for them and battle for you at the same time. So what war are you fighting? What declaration are you making? What affirmation are you making? Or you still want to keep making those oaths? You still want to run your mouth and make the oath. Oh, I'm a promise I'm going to do this. But when you're going to make the affirmation of success, I am going to fight for my success. I'm not going to continue to make these word promises or these Facebook promises, these Facebook posts that you're putting, but you're in real life. Your life is terrible. Your life is trash. You're not successful, but you want to make it look like you're successful. You want to keep talking about success, but the action items that come with success, you're not willing or ready to fight for. So you find yourself in a war of conflict or within a state of conflict because you have no action items. Because if fighting is the action of conflict, then there is something in your action of conflict that you have yet to resolve within yourself. So what resolution have you developed internally? Because if you haven't created or if you haven't designed some sort of resolution, don't you know that you will always have a conflict and you will always find yourself at war with people, or you will always find yourself in war? Because sometimes it's somebody else who made a declaration with you. Because if it says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, don't you know that there is a declaration that is happening? There's probably a declaration meaning, oh, we've always done this. It's in my bloodline. It's in my family. These family traditions. That is a declaration that somebody made a long time ago. But who is going to go to war for the family that comes behind you? Who's going to go to war that they're not going to be comfortable anymore? You're going to have to make an uncomfortable declaration to say, I am going to fight for my success. I am going to fight for reconditioning the things or reconditioning the placement that I've seen myself be in, or I am at an internal fight, or I am at a spiritual fight that now I am going to declare war on the things that I no longer want to be in, or the things I no longer want to be a part of. So again, I'm going to ask you this question. What war are you fighting? Are you fighting a war against alcohol? Are you fighting a war against drugs? Are you fighting a war against pornography? Are you fighting a war against inconsistencies? Are you fighting a war with time management? Are you fighting a war against those things? Because remember, you have to make a declaration in order for the war to begin. And the action items of fighting is you fighting against the conflicts that is within your mind. All right, I'm done. But are you? Are you done fighting for people who you don't really have to fight for anymore? It's time for you to fight for yourself. You got it, though. That's the thing. You got it. You've known for a long time that, man, I can't keep fighting for everybody else. I don't have enough in me. So resolve the internal conflict. Then everything outwardly will be that much more easier for you to make that affirmation about the actions that you're going to take, about the things and the desires that you have for yourself. In order for you to be successful, you have to be affirmed internally before there is any affirmations that take place, before there is any actions that's taking place. Have you fought inside of your mind? Fight there. And then once you finish with all that, develop that constant and consistent way of dealing with the state of conflict and conditioning in your mind. Condition your mind. So when things rise, my mind is conditioned enough to acknowledge what is going on around me. And because I've conditioned my mind, I am more well equipped to go into battle if I find myself. That is that emotional intelligence. Don't you know emotional intelligence is a condition? It is conditioning the mind. So if there's something that you're dealing with, you have to be emotional intelligent enough to condition your mind. So when these things happen, you be like, I see you, but I'm not going to allow, nor I am going to let you affect me that way anymore, because I've conditioned my mind. I've fought that fight before, and I know I don't have to fight that fight again because I'm conditioned and I'm built that way. But hey, you guys be blessed, and remember, consistency will and is currency. Go ahead and click that link, leave a message, and I will add your messages to the beginning of the podcast. If I get more than one message, then I have to, spread them out. And I see y'all back here tomorrow. Tomorrow's the end of the week. So make sure you tap in. I see you in the morning, 7:30. And if there's a particular subject or a word, just put the word out there. Send me a message. For those that know me, send me a Facebook message or shoot me a text. Hey, use this word. I'll build on that word all day. But y'all be blessed. Peace.